Ju Fufu CE server is here, and I've got some pretty interesting videos coming your way. Now, I've been testing her with her best in slot team, replacements for already existing best in slots, and a few unorthodox options that were more so something of my personal desire. I even started fooling around with new builds that you probably never even thought of. But today, we're gonna answer the big question. Is Ju Fufu worth pulling for you as a player, or did you skip her for someone else? For those of you that are a little more in tune with your accounts, I can pretty much answer this up front. If you already have your best in slot stunners for Soldier Zero Anby, Evelyn, or you even have Ching Yi, then Ju Fufu is not for you, technically. I say technically because there's definitely some nuance there, but let me now answer the question for my players who are still learning or just want to know more. Ju Fufu is 100% for new players. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, especially the new players that just jumped into Season 2 of Zenless. Now let me explain. I'll go over everything about some different team performances later on in the video, so stay tuned for that, but right now, let's talk about what I just said. Ju Fufu is 100% for new players. Why? Because a new player more than likely has Yi Xuan, or even more likely is that they don't have a limited stunner at all. Trigger and Lighter were gone before they got into the games, and Ching Yi hasn't been around for a few patches, not to mention the constant gaslighting some of the community does regarding Ching Yi and how Trigger is completely better than her in every regard. Despite the current top performing teams of Yi Xuan all using Ching Yi prior to Ju Fufu's release. My proof of this is literally any Japanese player, and I'm pretty sure you guys have seen it by now. Ching Yi is literally making a rise with Yi Xuan teams. And before that agenda starts, no, this isn't me trying to downplay Trigger or say that she's not good. She's amazing, especially with Yi Xuan. The point is that a new player doesn't have either. Fufu is literally made for Yi Xuan's damage performance to skyrocket over 15 to 25%. The combination of Yi Xuan, Panda, or Pulchra, which they would have gotten from the current banner, and then Yi Xuan gives them an arguably top 2 performing team, even on a casual level. So Fufu does two incredible things for not just the new player, but even the already established one. Number one, Ju Fufu completes a top 2 performing team without Astra or Lighter being present. The only other agent doing that is Miyabi. Secondly, she now slots in as the second best stunner for a lot of these teams who are already established with a best in slot. The simplest way I've been explaining her is like using the polymerization skill from Yu-Gi-Oh! And then fusing Lighter and Trigger into one. Obviously, not every single thing about them is combined into one, but you catch my drift. Ju Fufu is an amazing off-field fire stun support that boosts allies' crit damage, chain attack, and ultimate damage, while also boosting her own impact and giving the team a plus 1000 decibel increase that simultaneously refunds attack or rupture units 300 decibels whenever they use an ultimate. She's already proving to be an exceptionally damaging stun agent that provides strong support and helps optimize some teams' rotations. And how she does this is through a number of mechanics in her kit. First up is Might, which is like her main resource during combat. This Beyblade thing named Hue is always on field attacking enemies, which gives her 20 might per hit. Using EX skills and ultimates gives her even more might, and once this meter in the top left flashes about halfway, Ju Fufu will start slamming out a special version of her chain attack that gives the entire team the Tiger's Roar buff. Now, Tiger's Roar is the buff that increases everyone's crit damage, chain attacks, and ultimates by a large amount for about 30 seconds. And for the maximum effect, Ju Fufu's attack needs to reach 3400, but that's honestly not needed. Jay Stern actually put out a simple to understand chart that shows the damage difference is less than about 6%, regardless if you have 3000 attack or 3400. There are methods to make sure you hit this stat though, if you really wanted to. Holding her W engine is the easiest way. Otherwise, you'll need to combine some main stat disc with 2 to 3 attack pieces depending on the subs. Now, I actually had the reverse effect happen and ended up with too much crit, so I swapped my crit rate forward for an attack percent and managed to balance out her stats a little bit better. You can do your own thing. The other resource Ju Fufu takes pride in is called Momentum, which is what she'll be consuming after using EX specials and chain attacks off field. There's also her Beyblade mode that consumes 1 momentum to give her some might, which should be used in the middle of rotations depending on the combo. Now, something cool about that is that every stack of momentum equals the number of off-field spins the Beyblade will do. So if you do a combo of 3 EX skills plus her ultimate, then Huey is going to spin dash 15 times, while Fufu assists you with about 4 more chain attacks. Also, when the meter burns red, Huey's attacks now hold the fire attribute instead of physical. In regards to gear, it's pretty straightforward. 4-piece King of the Summit is her most universal best in slot. You can apply a 2-piece Shock Star, Woodpecker, or Hormone Punk depending on your goal. Crit rate 4 ideally, attack percent 5, and then ER or impact on the 6. Now, some things will change and your engine is going to dictate whether or not you need to be running attack 4 or even attack 6. This really just comes down to your entire kit overall. But then there's this really cool tech I learned from another YouTuber named Kohai. Right now, Ju Fufu suffers some decently concerning issues. It's not the end of the world, but you basically need to optimize your strategies around building her momentum and might, building the stun, and then dishing out everything else your team has to offer. The funny thing is that putting Ju Fufu on the team can actually build your days a little too fast. So what's the cool tech? 4-piece swing jazz on Ju Fufu instead of Summit King. I know, crazy, right? This keeps the same game plan, but completely changes the strategy behind playing her, and overall makes her a much more comfortable stunner to handle uptime of all the buffs. Yes, you lose out on the 30% crit damage buff, but you're making up for it with way more control of your actions. This setup is possibly the perfect setup for double stun comps too, since another stunner can just run the Summit King set, and in some teams, like with Polkra, you can fully utilize the Astral set too. I'm still rounding out my tests with 4-piece swing jazz, but as of right now, I've had nothing but impressive results with the double stun comps and even some more aggressive free-to-play ones. Your 2 pieces are pretty much the same thing, Woodpecker, Shock Star, or whatever. Attack 4 instead of crit rate, because now you're not using Summit, attack 5, and then for your 6th slot, you can pretty much pick between attack, impact, or ER, whatever it is that you want, but you probably don't really need ER unless you really want to just mash out EX skills constantly. To be completely honest, 6 is dictated based on combos, team rotations, the damage you're looking for, and so on. And so now I can briefly talk about some of the teams that I'm still testing, by the way, guys, but I'll give you the gist of what I like, what I don't like, and believe is worth more or less of your time. Ishwin, Ju Fufu, and Panda is easily her best in-slot team as of right now. This team fully complements everyone without wasting a single resource. It's easier to play than a double stun or even a double support comp, and provides consistent damage boosts across the board while still keeping the off-field stun support that doesn't take up too much field time. Ishwin fully benefits from everything Ju Fufu has to offer, like the decibel recovery effect. On top of that, Ju Fufu and Panda both have rotation timings that complement each other to then maximize Ishwin's significantly large damage output. With this team, I was able to not only completely ignore the miasma shield of Guzzlord entirely, but I also killed him in a single stun window in less than a minute. This is exactly what a best in slot team should be capable of, and I haven't even fully optimized the strategy. Next up is Hugo, Lighter, and Ju Fufu, which, you know, it's not horrible, but I don't feel like it's outright better than Lycan either. Instead of the Ice Res Shreds and the stun damage multiplier Lycan gives to the team, Ju Fufu trades that for some pretty big damage boost that Hugo loves. His combos mostly stay the same, but there's more focus on building his ultimates now for the kill. And then low key, this team might be the best for M2 Hugos instead of M0s. Then we get into Soldier Zero and B, and if you can't tell by how I said that, I don't like this comp at all, at least not yet. Ju Fufu serves the same purpose as Trigger, technically, but the issue isn't even them, it's the bosses. Most of the time, if something is weak to fire, then it's resistant to electric, and if it's weak to electric, then it's resistant to fire. So at some point, one of them will always be at a disadvantage compared to just fighting fire with fire and electric with electric. But if you don't have Trigger or Qingyi, then I assume this is your next best option. Finally, we can talk about my personal things. Ellen or Evelyn and Ju Fufu. Lighter is obviously their best in slot, but something about Ju Fufu providing them with some insane damage buffs, allowing them to fight more on field, and pairing them with Astra just does something to my imagination. Most of this concept revolves around the newly reworked Ellen, so keep that in mind when it comes from me, but I like what I've tested so far. Still gonna give it some more time, probably more, and then I'll eventually give you guys the full details, probably sometime next week. So in conclusion to all of this, let's end off with some closing thoughts. Ju Fufu's core gameplay mechanic is pretty straightforward from what I explained. DPS comes in, QA builds might through auto attacks or Ju Fufu's EX specials, support does support things, and then you daze the enemy and start your stun damage combos. With what I've experienced, this can get so much more detailed, but for now, that's the gist. I don't really see Ju Fufu replacing your best in slots, at least not yet, but I do see her helping you optimize teams into much more stronger versions of themselves in comparison. This is kind of like one of those situations where option A gives you a busload of upfront damage, but it doesn't really grow as high. And then on the other hand, option B has more backloaded damage initially, but has the potential to scale higher in due time. But these are just my first impressions from playing Ju Fufu after a few days. Maybe my opinions will change and I'll say she's an easy skip later on, but right now, she definitely feels like an agent that will help players achieve greater heights without the use of Astra, and that's massive. Then again, maybe this is all just Yi Xuan, huh? And before someone in the comments tell me Fufu does nothing, Yi Xuan is the reason why, and Trigger outperforms her in every way. Guys, that's gonna be it for me today. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. I'm literally trying to fix my mic. Like, it's not broken, but if anything sounds off or it sounds roomy in the room, it's because the mic is here, I'm over here, and normally my mic is like, I'm like in it, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, but the desk is like big and whatever, we're trying new shit. I'm gonna get out of here. All right, let me know what you want to see next. I'm kind of gonna give you guys some more team-based videos from this point forward. Maybe a Ju Fufu guide. I feel like you don't need it, but if you want it, I'll consider doing it. I can't say my user outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Like the video, comment, subscribe. Smell you later.